How many young men don't know who Martin Luther King Jr. was? Many of you might say, I know him. So my next question is, if you do, are you his fan or students? Because fan only likes and no action, but the students follow the footstep of his way and thinking to action. Are you the young brave man and woman who has the mentality, tenacity and audacity to adopt to the non-violence way of fighting to seek a proper justice? Martin Luther King Jr. says in his book, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community? He said that past revolution has been based on hope and hate. The hope was expressed in the rising expectation of freedom and justice. The hate was an expression of bitterness towards the perpetrators of the old order. It was the hate that made revolution bloody and violent. Martin Luther King Jr. said Mahatma Gandhi's movement in India was that he mounted on revolution on hope and love, hope and non-violence. Martin Luther King Jr. says they maintained the hope while transforming the hate of traditional revolution into positive non-violence power. With such a technique, such a prodigious achievement had been accomplished, although it took a long time, and it should, because this civil rights achievements are here to stay forever and has paved the way for younger generation to follow. Such great achievement are the 1960 sit-in desegregated lunch counter in more than 150 cities within a year. Number second, 1961 freedom rides put an end to segregation in interstate travel. Number 3, the 1956 bus boycott in Montgomery, Alabama ended segregation on the buses not only of that city but in practically every city of the South. Number 4, the 1963 Birmingham movement and the climatic march on Washington won passage of the most powerful civil rights law in a century. Number 5, the 1965 Selma movement brought enactment of the voting rights law. And number 6, non-violent marches in Chicago brought about a housing agreement. Martin Luther King Jr. says, we had dreamed for so long of freedom, are still confined in the prison of segregation and discrimination. Must we respond with the bitterness and cynicism? Certainly not, for this can lead to black anger so desperate that it ends in black suicide. Must we turn inwardly in self-pity? Of course not, for this can lead to self-defeating black paranoia. Must we conclude that we cannot win? Certainly not, for this will lead to black nihilism that seeks disruption for disruption's sakes. Must we, by fatalistically concluding that segregation is a foreordained pattern of the universe, resign ourselves to oppression? Of course not, for passively to cooperate with an unjust system makes the oppressed as evil. Since Martin Luther King strongly believed in non-violence protests, he says, our most fruitful course is to stand firm, move forward non-violently, accept disappointments, and cling to hope. Our determined refusal not to stop will eventually open the door to fulfillment. By recognizing the necessity of suffering in the righteous cause, we may achieve our humanity's full stature. To guard ourselves from bitterness, we need the vision to see in this generation's ordeal the opportunity to transfigure both ourselves and American society. And I would like to end with this, a quote by George Santayana. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. End quote. So all the young men and women who are in the street protesting violently, please stop. Go out to your library or talk to someone who has a wisdom, or seek advice from the elders, and read books of all the great leaders who went before us, like Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, and truly Martin Luther King's many books that will enlighten you. And when you are fully equipped with the wisdom of non-violence, then you can go in the street and protest non-violently. Let you not be the destroyer of the foundation founded by the great leaders who have paved the way for you to lead the way for the coming generation. Finish the unfinished civil rights movement. Be the trailblazer, the founder, and finish the job they have left unfinished. And never forget that non-violence is the only way to peace and justice.